I'm Greg Cohen, and I have scleroderma.
Greg Cohen, a patient from LA, documenting his journey as he runs several marathon races across the country for awareness.
What better way to do that than run the marathon where we know there's going to be news coverage, where we know there's going to be a lot of people.
To be running 4 marathons, I can't even imagine running 1.
Accomplishing this goal, especially for the scleroderma community, is the reason I set out to do this. And ultimately, it's really to raise awareness, because most people don't know what scleroderma is, and those that do really don't know much about it. I've always been an athlete my entire life. I ended up wrestling at the Division I level in college. And then after college, started teaching kickboxing on the East Coast. When I moved out to Los Angeles 16 years ago, I started teaching group fitness for a number of different fitness companies. And then all of a sudden, I started having issues with my hands where they started swelling up. I went to urgent care one morning, this is before I went to my rheumatologist, and was diagnosed with bilateral carpal tunnel syndrome, which, if anyone knows, typically people who get diagnosed with bilateral carpal tunnel syndrome, majority of the time, are pregnant women. And I am neither of those, or nor was I ever either of those. So I eventually went to a rheumatologist who diagnosed me with Hashimoto's, but she told me that I should come back in 3 months because usually with one autoimmune disease, there's typically a second. It seemed like she thought there might be something else, but really wasn't ready to say anything. So needless to say, 3 months came, I never went back because I'm a stubborn person, stubborn male, and I didn't go back. And then eventually I started developing digital ulcers on my finger, and I had one for about 4 or 5 months. My wife told me, you need to go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor, and that's when I was diagnosed with scleroderma.
Scleroderma, it means hard skin. It occurs in about 700,000 to 800,000 people in the US. And it's mostly in women, about 80% in women. The autoimmune defensive system of our body turns against ourselves. And the result is ultimately increased collagen. That's the same stuff that scars are made of, but that collagen spreads throughout the body. When we see someone with scleroderma, we often get the feeling that they're doing very well because the skin is hardened, they have fewer wrinkles, they may look younger than they actually are. But that tight skin makes a tremendous difference in their quality of life. So for example, when the skin is very tight over the fingers and the hands, it's hard for them to grasp a cup, to use a computer, to wash themselves. And more than that, when that fibrosis or scarring occurs in the lungs, they get short of breath, and they can get very short of breath. And you have difficulty swallowing, you have heartburn, you can't absorb foods normally, you lose weight and become very thin. You can have problems in the kidneys. You can have problems in the nerves, so you can get numbness and tingling. It can affect essentially any organ.
I was diagnosed with limited systemic sclerosis. I remember when she told me in the doctor's office, my doctor at the time was very adamant and painted a very serious picture. She warned me not to go home and look online and Google scleroderma and things like that, but she also told me some of the complications that could arise. She left, and my wife was in the room with me, and I broke down crying. My wife was really upset too. And then, of course, I went home and I went online and started looking up scleroderma and everything. And I thought the whole world was coming to an end.
50% of people die in 5 to 8 years. So that it's a very dangerous disease. And although we know a lot about it, we know some of its genetics, we know some of the cells that are associated with it, we really don't know yet what causes it.
I was pretty much depressed for a good 3 to 4 days, and then my wife literally said to me, that I had till the end of the week to figure out how I was going to move on and to do something with my disease to benefit others and not just sulk and be in despair. And so I don't even think it took me a week. I think the next day I was on a mission to help people fighting the illness, even though I barely knew what the illness was, or even I didn't know anyone with it. So I said, what's the best way to do this? And I was thinking and racking my brain, and I also said, what can I do that would also inspire people? I obviously can't be a professional baseball player anymore. I'm not going to the Olympics. But I said, what's on a big scale? And I said, the Los Angeles Marathon is coming up. What better way to do that than run the marathon where we know there's going to be news coverage, where we know there's going to be a lot of people. I mean, 20,000 people run the LA Marathon, plus the streets are lined with thousands of more people. Who knows who we're going to meet? And lo and behold, my second year running the marathon, we got picked up by the LA Times, who wrote an article about us, and that basically spiraled into a whole bunch of other things. I was like, this is great, but we're still not getting where we need to be with awareness and just getting more people to know about it. So I was thinking, I was like, what can I do next year aside from running Los Angeles? And initially I said, I'm gonna run 8 marathons over the course of a year. And my doctor said, no, you're not. She said, how about we start with 4, but let's make them spread out, make sure you're running most of them in warmer weather. Additionally, because of my role in promoting the marathon and what I was doing for fundraising, patients across the country saw what I was doing on social media. One patient in particular, her name is Julia, reached out and started messaging with me, and then she put me in touch with Project Scleroderma and with Christy, and Christy reached out to me after getting a referral, if you will.
I first heard about Greg when I was working with a local scleroderma patient here in the Philadelphia area. Her name is Julia. She's a fitness enthusiast too, and so she had said to me just kind of in conversation, have you ever heard of this guy named Greg Cohen? And I said, no. And she said, he's doing all of this amazing fitness stuff and he shares his journey on Instagram and he's really inspiring and he's super motivational. And she just really seemed to be impacted by him herself. And so it inspired me to look further into who Greg was. So I reached out to Greg and I asked him if he'd be willing to do a public service announcement with us.
And I found out that who Project Scleroderma was and what their mission was, which was basically the same mission that I have.
There was a lot of alignment in our passion for raising awareness, but also for our desire to find a creative and maybe new way to raise awareness. I created this organization not long after my family and I lost my mom to scleroderma in 2009. Our primary mission with Project Scleroderma is to dramatically increase the level of awareness of this disease, and we do that by way of documentary videos and films. And our goal really is to share patient stories, giving the patients a platform, and then using the videos and the films as a vehicle to educate and hopefully help inspire support of scleroderma research.
So I reached out to Project Scleroderma and I said, I have an idea. Would you be willing to partner with me? I'm gonna run 4 marathons next year, and I think we should do a documentary to help build on what we've already done.
And it was a no-brainer. I immediately said, absolutely yes. I knew already that our missions were so aligned, and it felt like we were gonna bring a fresh perspective to awareness. And so I said, yes, absolutely, let's make it happen.
So then it just came down to picking the marathon. So we chose the Walt Disney World Marathon, which takes place in January. Then I was doing Los Angeles in March. The third one was San Francisco in July, and then we were finishing in Project Scleroderma's hometown of Philadelphia in November.
Greg Cohen wants people to know the importance of staying active, even if you're faced with a rare and painful health condition.
What we learn is that the more you kind of just sit around and stay inactive, things get worse.
Greg is pushing through and is getting ready to run his first Disney marathon, a goal that goes beyond the finish line.
I decided to raise awareness for the disease that a lot of people don't know about.
On Sunday, Greg is going to run a full marathon. That's 26.2 miles. He'll have to run past all 4 Disney parks, and this year, Disney Run included one of their water parks that runners will also have to go through.
It's not about the disease that defines people, it's about the passion that you have. I define the disease doesn't define me.
Carolina Cardona, News 6 at 9.
Well, I'm super proud But I'm also like really excited because he works so hard and he deserves this. And it's not only about him, but it's the opportunity to show people that you're not defined by circumstance and that you can rise up and you can do anything if you have an iron will and a desire. So when I see him on TV like today, it was amazing. It's so exciting. And then I'm also so proud because he's evolved as a speaker and in front of other people in the camera and things like that.
I've always been a good speaker. I wouldn't call myself a professional interviewee by any stretch of the imagination, but it's definitely, I'm less nervous than I think the first time I was on some of these things. I was definitely a little nervous. I was interviewed by 2 news stations here in Orlando, and those were a lot of fun. I think a lot of it's turned into more fun and enjoyment in the sense of being able to meet these different people and really get the word out, not only in Los Angeles where I live, but all throughout the country now.
Raising awareness for scleroderma is really critical in terms of the path to finding a cure. If the general public does not know about what this disease is, then there is not enough funding and support for research, and research is what ultimately is going to lead us to a cure. What I really loved most about what Greg was doing is that he was very eager to connect with the scleroderma community while simultaneously trying to raise awareness on his own. This wasn't a solo mission in any way. He wasn't just trying to raise awareness for awareness's sake. Like, he really was trying to make this a movement among the patient community and to get a lot of people involved. And he was thinking outside the box in terms of how to get people's attention.
Tomorrow we're gonna meet another scleroderma patient. That's gonna be really cool meeting Lori tomorrow. We both kind of have
We've become very good
with
friends with her. I think that like the internet and social media gets a really bad rep, but it's facilitated a lot of really positive relationships for us. And Lori has become a really good friend to us, and we've never met. She's a massive, massive support and inspiration. And it just goes to show you there are other people out there like Greg that do not allow the illness to define them.
Hi, it's so great to meet you.
So nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, for sure. How are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Great. I'm so excited to do this today.
Yes, we're gonna get some yoga in your body so that you're limbered up and ready to go tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Nothing strenuous because you're running 26 miles tomorrow and you've been training, so we're gonna take it easy.
I'm so excited to do this.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Lori is a phenomenal human being and was so gung-ho to participate in all this. She does yoga for scleroderma. So it's a gentler form of yoga for people with scleroderma to help with mobility and flexibility, as opposed to a really hard or strong vinyasa style yoga class, which has a lot more flow movement to it. So tell me, when were you diagnosed with scleroderma?
I was diagnosed late in the fall of 2002.
Okay.
I was working as an IT contractor, and much like yourself, my hands were feeling swollen and Raynaud's episodes, and I went to the doctors, and fortunately I got lucky and they diagnosed Raynaud's right away, and then scleroderma 3 visits later.
Give me the whole kind of background a little bit, if you can, on yoga for scleroderma.
So I had been working a full-time job and had to stop working because I was in another flare, and my doctor said, all right, you need to admit defeat. And that's hard to do for us type A personalities.
Yeah, totally.
So I knew I needed to start moving my body. I hadn't been moving my body. I had very limited range of motion. So I looked up chair yoga, gentle yoga. And I went to a class expecting that I wouldn't be able to do it. And the teacher taught me how to adapt on the first class, and I was hooked. So I started going back, and slowly I started getting some range of motion back, some flexibility back. I did that, and I was sharing my journey through all of this through Facebook and blogging. And someone on Facebook said, do you know Kathy Randolph, who teaches yoga for scleroderma? And I was like, what? I've been doing yoga for 4 or 5 years now. I've never heard of this. And someone put us in touch, and then the rest is kind of history.
What have you seen to be the biggest difference, especially related to scleroderma for you?
Like I said, when I started yoga, my then husband, had to help me get dressed. I couldn't get up and down off the floor by myself. I needed help doing a lot of things. And now I live by myself. I'm mostly fully functional. I have to get help with some things like heavy lifting stuff, but I can get up and down given a little bit of time. I can put socks and shoes on by myself. I can get dressed. I have regained all of those things. They might not be pretty and they might not be what a normal bodied person would do, but I can do it.
What do you think the most important thing is that we can do for the scleroderma community and at large for the general public, because it's such a rare condition that most people don't know about?
I think I've mentioned to you before where I think we're the perfect examples of what not to do.
Sure.
In that I didn't move my body, I didn't do diet and exercise because 17 years ago we didn't know those things.
Sure.
And now we do. And you are the example of knowing that. Going into your scleroderma, you keep active, you have the healthy diet. And I think that that's important for people to understand that you can have some control over this disease. I think a big thing is for people to learn to advocate for themselves and to take the power back. We have a lot of control, we have a lot of say, and if I knew then what I know now, maybe I would still be moving like you do.
You're moving well, so.
I'm moving well compared to what I was.
Sure.
However, I also can see you and see how much more freely you move that I would, we would all like to have a little better movement.
The race started, and the race at Disney usually starts at 5:30 in the morning. Running a marathon is hard for the average human being in general, because you're not meant to run for 26.2 miles on pavement.
Fatigue is one of the earliest signs of scleroderma. If you take someone like Greg, who's trying to run a marathon, fatigue can become overwhelming. Overcoming fatigue is a problem for people without scleroderma in such a run. Good lungs and heart and muscles are critical.
Magic Kingdom was really fun because when you came around the corner, initially you didn't see any fans, and then all of a sudden you have all these people in the park lined up on the side, and it was early in the morning just as the sun was rising at dawn, and then you head right into the Magic Kingdom, the little entrance, and you wonder if the princess is up top as you're running through. So it was a fun experience. I had some challenges. It also gets hot in Florida, and lo and behold, this was the hottest year and the most humid race they have ever had.
It appears to be the hottest Disney marathon on record since it began in the mid-90s. Some runners saw people getting IVs on the grass in the middle of the course. There were 3 911 calls made to Reedy Creek.
What's the location of the emergency? Hi there, we are behind Animal Kingdom on mile 16 and a half, and we have a runner who's down. He can't get up. He says it's cramping, but he can't move his legs, and he believes that he may be dehydrated.
I thought I was hydrating enough while I was running. They were handing out sponges with water, and I had hit the wall around mile 20, which means I had to walk a little bit because my legs were like, I'm done. And I just kind of tried to run the best I could the rest of the race. But then I crossed the finish line, which was phenomenal. They let my wife medal me when I came across the finish line, which was really cool. And the entire crowd erupted. It was crazy. And then afterwards, when we were about to do some interviews, I started to lose kind of my balance, and I had to go into the medical tent. After finishing Disney, I wasn't really thinking about the next 3, I was just thinking about the next one, which was Los Angeles. My biggest concern was the fact that it was only 8 weeks away. I got the flu about 3 weeks ago, and I was out of commission. At least for 6 days I was in bed, and then I literally, on day 7, felt good. I was like, I need to go for a little bit of a run just to get my body moving again. I went for a 2-mile run, which was, breathing was hard, the legs were tired, everything about my body was tired, from having the flu. But literally it felt like I got hit by a bus, and for the next 2 days I felt like I had run a marathon again.
If you get any kind of viral illness, any kind of bacterial illness. Your body, if you have scleroderma, can't fight it as well. If you get a flu or something of that sort and it affects the lungs, and the lungs are already compromised, they're scarred, people are short of breath anyway, it's even harder on those patients.
This past weekend, I went out for about a 9-10 mile run. I felt really good. Disney was fun. What I've taken away from it was just what I'm able to do was one of the things, because obviously I ran really well and it was a really good positive thing for that. But at the same time that I still have to be mindful of all the other things that come with having scleroderma and trying to run a marathon and things like that. What are you doing, Kat? I teach for Orange Theory. It's one of the fitness brands that I teach for, and we're doing a fundraiser event for the marathon and for the UCLA research project. They are super behind what I'm doing, and the studio manager and everyone else wanted to help me out.
We did one of our 60-minute classes. All the different members come and donated to support Coach Greg. We had no idea that he had this disease. I didn't know anything about it before until he told me about it, and he's kind of inspired me to participate in the marathon with him.
His name is Greg Cohen, and he'll be running in the LA Marathon in a total of 4 contests this year.
Doing it as a fundraiser to raise awareness.
I'm excited for what's going on. There's so many people that are reaching out to me on Facebook and Instagram because of the fundraiser and just, what I'm doing and all the publicity that we've been doing. I was just on KTLA in Los Angeles in the morning news. I did Beyond TV. So there's a lot going on with that and all that extra awareness that we're raising, which is really good. So that makes me excited because I know we'll build on that during the marathon. We went to Susan Fenneker's restaurant, Socalo, down in Santa Monica. Susan Fenneker's on the board of the Scleroderma Research Foundation. She also does all the food and the cooking for the Cool Comedy Hot Cuisine, which is the fundraiser that SRF puts on. I had actually previously been on an interview with her before the fundraiser for SRF, but we never spent enough time together to get to know each other. And she became aware of what I was doing and had us come in for dinner, and we got to talk. She's been a real influential person in the community too, because Sharon Monsky was her roommate in college who actually founded the Scleroderma Research Foundation, who passed away from the illness years ago. So she's been highly involved and a very key person in raising awareness.
In my experience, I've been on the board of the Scleroderma Research Foundation now for probably 25, 27 years. I'm very familiar with scleroderma, and I lost my college roommate, Sharon Monsky, to scleroderma. To be running 4 marathons, I can't even imagine running one. Understanding how painful and challenging movement like that would be for anybody, but for a scleroderma patient is just incredible. So that Greg can do this is just pretty spectacular and should be an inspiration to everybody. Good luck, Greg.
Okay. Here I get the lint roller.
Remember, don't stab it. I'll lint roll when I'm done. Don't stab it to the back like you did last time that we couldn't get the shirt open.
I know. That's funny. I have to do this because Greg's fingers are too tight, so I do this for him because the safety pins are too small for his fingers. Is that sexy, man? Oh!
She got it caught. She did that. She got it caught in the thing again. I just warned her about that. It's gonna be late to the marathon. I love running the city because you live here and I drive it all day long or every day, and it's so different when you get to run through it. So I always look forward to all the people that are out on the course. And honestly, I'm looking forward to, continuing this journey because I know there's a lot of people that are following me. I'm really just excited to take what I've learned from the last 3 marathons I've done now total, and applying it to this and really helping to continue raising awareness and really hoping that more media picks up the story and it becomes more of a national thing than, local pockets here and there to really get the word out about scleroderma.
We're at Hollywood and Highlands, mile 11 for the Los Angeles Marathon, waiting for Greg. And this is where I wait for him every year. And partially because my best friend lives up the block, so I used to park my car there and just walk on down. Well, my role is I'm spreading awareness, so I'm standing out here with my signs, but my role for Greg is to give him his goo. So I have to disrobe, open the goo, run with him because he won't stop. Greg's actually slowed down his pace, which makes me feel really good that he'll be able to finish and be less broken, hopefully, by the end of the marathon. Looking for him to finish strong and that he feels good. That's all I want, is that he feels good. See, I love-hate this part. I get so afraid that I'm gonna miss him. So afraid. And I dressed him, but I can't remember. I'm like, what's he wearing? What is he wearing? Maybe not. There's another pacer, right? I don't know where Greg is. Come on, Greg.
No way.
You see him? Where? Yes.
Over the last few years, Ariel has been my number one supporter when it comes to, she was, my number one supporter, and she still is. She was always out on the course every year. She made these awesome signs, which actually was honestly the reason we got the news coverage we got in LA with the LA Times. She's been a key person in helping me raise awareness.
Having a supportive family, supportive friends, or supportive other relatives is extraordinarily important to keep scleroderma patients going. And they really depend on all of you who are the support system.
Walk with it? Okay, I'm walking with it.
That's the first time I walked.
Right now?
Yeah.
Well, don't walk.
I need to.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You only got 5 more to go, that's it. How's the weather? How are your hands feeling, feet feeling? How's everything
My quads are shot. Everything else is fine.
Okay.
My heart rate's starting to get elevated.
Okay, well that would happen. You're running a marathon.
So.
I'm so proud of you. Did you see my text message? So I want you to finish strong.
I know.
So you're going to pick the pace again? You're going to start to jog? You want me to jog with you a little?
No, I'm going to go in once I get to that arrow.
You want me to pace you? I'll pace you.
No, it's okay.
I gotta pace you.
You guys got to make it to finish. You guys have to make it to finish line. Is anyone asking you about the signs?
Well, we had to run over here and get here.
Okay, that's fine.
But when we were at Hollywood and Highlands before, people were asking. Yeah, come on, Greg, run! Come on, I'll pace you. Run, Greg, run!
It's hard to understand how we feel meeting patients, how day to day. And even times Ariel didn't get it too, because she would always try to push me to you need to go to the gym or you got to go running. And sometimes I'd be like, I can't today. I just need to listen to my body and relax. And she respected that. But sometimes with good intention, she'd push me, but also wouldn't always understand necessarily how I felt in my body. And that's not a slight on her or anyone, because a lot of supporters of patients don't understand day to day how one day can be great and the inflammation in your body another day can be so bad that you don't want to do anything, you don't want to get off the couch, you don't want to get out of bed, etc.
A little bit ways down. Hi. My left leg was just knotting up and cramping. I walked one more time, actually 2. I walked to a water station and then I walked. But not for long. Man, not my best time here. But it's the longest I ran without stopping today, so that's a good thing. Did it though. We did it. Hey Hey guys, we're all finished here at the LA Marathon. Not my best time. I think I was 2 minutes shy of my best time, but hey, I only walked for like 90 seconds this time, so something to be proud of. All right, time to go recover now. Bye.
He's so proud of you. How do you feel? RunGregRun.com, donate.
Good job, Greg. Thank you. All right, Greg. I did it. Yeah, number 2 of the year, done.
Oh, I love you. He did amazing. I'm very proud of him. He's hard on himself about time, and then I push him because I want him to be the athlete that I know that he is. You know, and then he's like, I wish you can be inside my body. So there's that like delicate balance of trying to understand like Greg the athlete with scleroderma, and what my role is in continuing to push him and motivate him and inspire him.
I've done 4 now, total.
You've done
2 this
4.
year in within 7 weeks.
High five.
Within 7 weeks, that's crazy.
I feel like he's getting stronger every time he does this, or maybe his body's like, oh, we're doing this.
Across the country, more than 100 patients in 26 states are being monitored for possible coronavirus.
Southern Californians have been taking the crisis seriously, with most fearing the virus more than the economic downturn.
Nearly 100,000 lives lost to the coronavirus pandemic in this country alone.
Initially, the goal was to run 4 marathons over the course of the entire 2020 year, but that kind of got a little thwarted with COVID. Literally, the week after Los Angeles, everything got shut down. We were just waiting and seeing if all the other marathons would take place. San Francisco got canceled, and then eventually Philly got canceled. But the goal at that point was to run Philadelphia alone by myself.
It was clear that no marathons were going to happen in 2020. And once we realized that Philadelphia was for sure canceled, that's when we started to, start talking about what's plan B. We decided that we were going to fly Greg here and have him run the course himself. And Greg was excited about that still. Like, he was just excited that we were still going to follow through with what we started. All along, that was really important to him, that we finished what we started. We were about 10 days away from Greg flying here to run the Philadelphia Marathon solo. And case counts were just on the rise here in Philly, and things were starting to shut down, and it just seemed like it really was not the safest option to fly him here at that time.
Patients with scleroderma who develop COVID-19 are at particular risk. This is compounded by the fact that the medications we use to treat scleroderma are medications which suppress the immune system. And therefore, the chances of you requiring hospitalization go up by a factor of 2 or 3. And the chances of dying from the disease is also markedly increased.
So unfortunately, we had to decide to just cancel our plans, or at least put them off for now.
I was furloughed, so I wasn't working. So I didn't have much to do. So I literally ran pretty much anywhere from 5 to 6 days a week, even multiple times a day. I entered some virtual races. So I did a Pittsburgh half marathon virtually.
He's crossing the finish line. He's crossing the finish line all the way through.
I also did a Yeti trail runners race, which was not a trail, but it was anywhere you wanted it to be where you lived. And it was a 24-hour race covering 30 miles. Very little sleep, none really, to be honest with you. And then from there, I ran as much as I could. And I logged, I think, more miles than I ever had logged in the course of a year. Just tried to keep myself in shape. So I'm feeling good now that we're not out of COVID, but I've been back at work since March. I'm in school. I used the Los Angeles Marathon 2 weeks ago as marathon number 3 in the quest of 4, even though I did LA the year before, to be one of my long training runs to get me prepared for Philadelphia. So I'm feeling good in the sense of I have a long run under my belt.
You know, the thought of him running a full marathon 2 weeks ago felt to me a little intense on your body before you're about to go in and do another full marathon. He's just so determined to continue this entire project with as much heart and grit that he started it with. So, you know, me at any point saying, like, are you sure you're okay? It was like in one ear and out the other. He was just, you know, so laser focused on accomplishing these goals. And it was incredibly inspiring, honestly, to watch somebody go through so many ups and downs, several disappointments in the process, and then throw the pandemic in the mix and anything that he had going on personally too.
A lot of people during the pandemic, we've all kind of faced our own adversities. Within the last few months, my wife and I separated. Even while we're on good terms, it's still a challenging thing. We always joked, which is great, because the good thing about her and her support was we were able to keep things lighthearted. I think sometimes when you're dealing with things, it's really important to have a sense of humor about things, even as serious as it might be. So we'd call me slow-mo, or we would say that I don't need to eat because I still have food in me from yesterday, all kinds of things like that. So it made things a lot easier in that sense. It is challenging, you know, the last 2 races being LA this year and Philly this year, that she's not there on the course with me. Thankfully, I have a lot of friends who are supporting me from a distance, and even just random people that know me in the community that don't have scleroderma, that don't know anyone with scleroderma. I've seen them in LA on the course cheering me on. It's really special. I wanted to do something different for patients this year than what I've done in the past, by not only raising awareness, but raising money this year to help fund a patient being able to get the gift of fitness, which has helped me so much. Sorry. Running's given me an outlet to clear my mind and be able to help myself decompress and deal with the stress of everything, whether it's my personal relationship, whether it's not being at work and dealing with everything with the pandemic. Running really helped me to kind of center myself.
I wanted to host a cocktail party for Greg while he was here in town for a couple reasons. I wanted him to feel like we were there to support him and that we were all so excited and happy for him as he headed into this race. But I also wanted him to have time to connect with other patients in the scleroderma community. What they get from being in a room with other patients is unlike anything they get from anyone else in their life in terms of understanding what the disease is. Many patients will say, you know, my family or friends, they're very supportive, but they can't really relate to what I'm going through. So there's something kind of magical that happens when you get these patients in a room together and they're able to share common experiences, or they're able to just share what it feels like to be battling something so rare that nobody else understands. It really was a night to celebrate everything that Greg had accomplished up to this point. I didn't want that to get lost on any of us, but especially not on Greg.
Like, I'm so grateful you all came out, like, just to say hi, because I love seeing you on Facebook and talking to you and all that, and it's like so meaningful that you guys came. And I wanted to do something meaningful, even for the people who don't come out to support, because everyone deserves not to deal with the shit that we deal with. And I'm just grateful for everyone's support. So, and thank you, because I know this is so near and dear to your heart because of your mom and everything.
Greg Cohen, a patient from LA, documenting his journey as he runs several marathon races across the country for awareness. He's going to be here actually this weekend to complete his marathon mission for awareness by running his final race of the series, which is the Philadelphia Marathon.
I'm just excited because it's a new environment. I've run LA, I think 4 years now, so after a while it's the same thing, and I'm excited to be in a new city and doing something different. Finishing this means a lot to me, A, because it's a goal I set out to do, and I want to complete the things that I start, but more so, I want people in the scleroderma community to know that even though things happen in life, that they shouldn't give up. Right around like mile 5 or 6, my legs started to tighten up, or they just felt really lethargic. And then I know when I hit mile 13, I was, normally I would break things down maybe 6 miles at a time or 3 miles. I was just trying to get mile to mile at that point.
I could see it in his face that it was challenging him, but also I could see how determined he was.
And then when I got to mile 21, my stomach was cramping, my legs were cramping, my hamstring felt like I pulled something. I said to myself, if I finish in 5 hours and have to walk it, I'm gonna do that to finish.
So our plan was to film him at several points throughout the race, but our second to last spot, we missed him. Our crew that was supposed to catch him said, we don't see him. Those of us that are at the finish line were just really unsure of what that meant. Was he hurt? Did he stop to walk? Is he gonna finish? And he gets across the finish line, and it was his personal best time. So not only did he finish the race, he finished the race with his personal best time.
The things that pushed me through those challenging moments, one, first and foremost, was the fact that I committed to do this, and I didn't want to let people down. Unless I truly got injured and literally had to be carried off the course, I was going to finish the race. I thought about all those people that were really rooting me on. I thought about patients in the scleroderma community, how important this was to them, not only from a perspective of what we're trying to do by raising awareness, but more so for their own personal belief in themselves. I thought about the patients that we've lost. Those were the things that carried me through. For anyone, not even those dealing with scleroderma, but just anyone in general, that anything's possible if you commit to it and you're willing to see it through.